Don't trip.
Don't trip.
Don't trip.
Don't even trip. We got you.
What's up, y'all? It's Don't Trip Podcast. You're on another week's episode. We got Jalen back in the building, Mr.
What's
Noble.
good? What's good?
Yeah, so we appreciate y'all tapping in. This is going to be an enjoyable episode. It's going to be fitting for the month of June, and y'all see why in a bit. But we're just on here to talk. This is Don't Trip, advice at no price. So we just get y'all right.
Yep.
We answer the fans' questions. So go submit your questions on Instagram. Go give us some love. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, all that. And if you're new, welcome. We hope you enjoy. Go watch some old episodes. Some stuff's changing up. Some people, new people, big things, big moves coming. Yeah, some big stuff coming. And but like my people always say they want updates. Justice is moving. Justice is moving to somewhere where they wear cowboy hats and line dance. Shout
somewhere,
out Jay.
somewhere I used to live.
Exactly.
Somewhere I used to live.
Exactly. And I am still in school, doing my thing. I don't know how to update you people, but thank you. I'm glad you guys are interested in our lives. Anything new with you, Lobo?
Let's see. I'm headed to vacation France tomorrow or tonight. So
okay.
yeah, I'll be out there for a minute.
Okay.
Just been enjoying life. I mean, getting used to New York, North Jersey. This is I think month 8, so somewhat new to me still. But yeah, I guess I'm pretty boring right now in my life. just
chilling.
Everything's consistent.
Honestly, same.
Same, yeah.
Just tired. But hey, summer's coming. People about to be outside. People about to be.
That's a change.
Yeah,
Sweat my ass off walking up
bro,
on the street.
It's
crazy.
Nah, I'm from Arizona, and it's even worse.
I was up here yesterday walking down and like felt a sweat. And I was like, damn, it is like this.
Would you rather be like in the sweltering heat or the freezing cold?
I feel like cold because you can always get warmer. It's easier to get warmer.
But you think it's easier to get warmer?
Ooh,
that's crazy. Because like if I'm at a house, like I'm gonna have to bundle up. If I'm cold, I'm cold. Like if I get butt naked, like I guess.
I feel like the analogy I think of is sleeping. Like in a freezing room, you can always add more blankets, like put on clothes. But when it's too hot in there,
that's fair.
Like you can only have so many fans in your house, so many like AC. Like I don't know if AC's broken. Like how do you?
That's fair.
So I don't know. I guess it's preference, but I think it's for me. I'd rather. I don't know. It's easier to get warm than it is to get cold.
Facts, and I think like. I would agree. I'd rather be cold because I hate sweating. With a passion, I hate sweating.
The discomfort on either side, I think the discomfort with sweating is worse than it is just cold. Yeah.
And if you take a girl out, like if you hot, you have to stay away from her. If you're cold, then you gotta get closer to you. So I mean, it's a win-win.
It's a free game.
Yeah,
it's free game.
Free game right there. But that's our lives right now. Summertime. Be safe. All that stuff. We appreciate y'all. Go check out the Patreon if you want to get some monthly therapy sessions with us. And I guess I can tell you a little about this episode. So it is Men's Health Awareness Month, the month of June. And
hell yeah, we
are going to talk about a little bit of mental health and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Coming from different backgrounds, we have different looks on it. We could talk about that in a bit. But obviously, we got Don't Trip questions. So we're going to answer a couple of y'all questions first, all right?
Yep.
So, or maybe one or two. I don't know. We get to what we get to.
Yes,
but,
yeah. Knock them out.
Exactly. Ooh, okay. We didn't talk about this, but a woman asked us this phrase that has been common. I've heard it a lot, actually. What do you think of the phrase of "Don't let your boyfriend stop you from finding your husband"?
Oh, I think I've seen that a little bit too.
Yeah.
I guess on our side, it's like, don't let your girlfriend stop you from finding a wife. So I guess we answer it that way. Because I don't know. I feel like I'm not really, if I'm looking while I'm in a relationship, that's not a real relationship. I think there's like a placeholder, but that's awful.
That's actually awful.
I mean, I feel like if I have a wandering eye or if I'm in a relationship and I'm looking elsewhere for somebody else, I'm either not talking about what's wrong in my current relationship, what's not being fulfilled. I'm probably, battling some of my own issues that I'm trying to like find in other people. But yeah, I think if you're looking outside of your relationship while you're one, it's not a real relationship.
That's true. I think the only way I agree with this phrase is you're right. If it's something you need to escape. Like if you're in a toxic relationship, that's something you're going back and forth with, something that you guys are struggling with.
Yeah.
And a lot of people grind that out. A lot of people try to grind that out and see like, oh, like maybe he will change, maybe she will change, maybe we can be happy eventually. But then like there might be that person that is better for you. So don't let your Like I hate the phrase. I hate it so much.
I get it though. Like
yeah.
I've heard some people say, like people will mentally break up with somebody before they actually break up with somebody. So like they're not really there emotionally, or they'll emotionally break up with somebody,
Yeah.
and they're on their way out essentially. And I think that this is a either symptom, variable, or like part of that conversation as well. It's like, if I'm looking for something else, I'm probably already done in the relationship I'm in.
Yeah.
And that point, like, I don't think it's a real relationship because it's ending. It's like it's done. So I think that's just like a result of, I don't know, that thought process. But yeah, I would I don't like the phrase, but
Yeah.
I understand it.
I don't like the phrase when people, I think it's a lot of like moms, aunties, pops, like they'll bring a girl in and be like, nah, she's perfect. I'm like, bro, I'm dating someone. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you can't let your boyfriend stop you from finding your husband. Can't let your girlfriend stop you. I'm like, bro, like, if you don't like her, just say that. Like,
That's so
if
true.
If you don't like her, just say that.
Yeah, parental love. Like all of my relationships growing up, like my biggest yes I needed was from my mom.
Facts.
If my mom could like co-sign my relationship, but like I love her, then it was good in my book. Like I was like, this is the one.
Exactly.
It was like hit or miss a lot of times with my mom growing up and with different people I dated, but you know she loves my current girlfriend, and that's like. But I also did separate that like maternal need for approval for my life or my loved ones. This relationship and the relationship before, and like I guess just like more recently in life, I've realized how individual of a life I live when it comes to like that maternal need for like involvement in my relationship. Because you also see those funny ones of like the mother-in-law or like the at like bridal showers, like celebrating more than the mom to be is and stuff. So it's just like that that interesting dynamic of like mother-son relationship. But I think
that's a whole episode.
With
a girl.
With a girl, absolutely.
I just wrote it down. But like, because I've heard so many girls be like,
hell
I can't even date a mama's boy. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Can't do it.
I love my mother. I love my mother, but I separated I think when we say mama's boy, I think there's a separation in a healthy way that needs to happen as you look to bring in another woman in your life. I think that is the priority. She is, but I think some people neglect that. Some men may neglect that. So I think with this, like to your point or the question or combo, just I mama's boy can be I don't know, a bad thing and good thing. I see how people say either.
No, that's fair. But we'll talk. Hey, capture on a future episode once we get. We're gonna get some estrogen in the room. I promise. Like we will get some. We even have a lot of testosterone. I promise you, we will get some estrogen in the room. Y'all just wait on it. Okay, I got some people coming for y'all. But all right, that's our first question of the day. The second question of the day was, and this will segue us into the rest of our stuff. But are men afraid to date someone who makes more money than them? Don't trip.
We got you.
I think it's definitely a pride thing when it comes to men, because there is always the stigma of, oh, I gotta provide this, or I gotta provide that, and if it's coming from a woman, then a lot of dudes can't take that both criticism from her family, criticism from people outside looking in, criticism from themselves thinking they're not good enough. So I think it's a big like pride thing that comes with it, but I don't think it should be, because that stuff is very superficial, and if it's someone you love, then as long as you're giving them what they need to get, then that should be plenty. And
so I got a question to you then.
Yeah.
So I think like it's an ego thing too. Like obviously like your ego is bruised because you're trained to think that like your worth. And I just talked to my dad about this, and this is something like I've learned from my dad's lens and just seeing how he grew up and raised us, that a lot of men's worths are placed on the place they fall in, like socioeconomically, like how much money they make and how much they can provide. And while that's, you know, how things are for a lot of people and in this world we live in, my question to you is like, what do you think a man would be defined as? Like if you were to define a man, if you were to define masculinity or like success as a man, what would come to like the front of your mind?
The front of my mind, I think it would be kind of it'd be something I'm striving for.
Okay.
Like personally, obviously, I think it'd be different for every person.
Right.
But I think a man is someone who can lead in the right direction. I think a man is someone who can not only lead in the right direction, but act properly in whatever situation that he's put in.
Oh, yeah.
So leading doesn't just mean everyone come follow me, do what I say, do all this. Leading is someone who can control their temper.
Yeah.
Someone who can control their finances and make the right spending decisions.
Yeah.
Is someone who can also be a rock, but also be like someone who is able to be soft and take those different emotions that your kids might give you, that your wife might give you, that your friends might give you, and be able to dish that out in a productive way. So I think a man fully is someone who's able to adapt to a situation and handle it, and that does come monetarily. So if I'm broke, I need to adapt to that situation.
Absolutely.
I get my bread up before I get my money up before my funny up. Like I'm trying to make
that
exactly. So I think that's the definition of what a man should be: someone who can adapt in the right situation and handle it when it's given to them. But,
so it's funny. I love this question because I think that's beautifully said. I ask that to a buddy of mine every so often, but my like question in response to that: can a woman be those things?
I think a woman can be all those things.
Right.
I
So
think
when you like say what a man is and what a woman is, that's always the follow-up question. Is like, why can't a woman, like when we describe men or masculinity, again, great attributes for any human.
Yeah.
I think this is my like frustration with society and this like role that people play. It's like that way. If you describe my sister like that, if you described your mother like that, if you describe your daughter like that, very different, right? Because that's the expectation for men, but they're beautiful attributes for people.
Yeah, that's facts. And I think like in our world, our society, what I just said, like you said, wouldn't be attributed to man. It'd be, honestly, a lot of people would say a woman needs to be a good follower instead of what I just said.
That's a very fair conversation. Yeah,
exactly. And a lot of people would be like, oh, she needs to know her place. She needs to be able to do this, do that. And I'm just like, maybe it's because of the women were around. My mom, never. Please, come on. Like, please.
I grew up with a stay-at-home mom.
That's not something that's normalized in how I grew up. And I mean, maybe it is just like, okay, whatever you're used to, whatever you have going on in your household, you grew up with, or what you want personally. But I do think it comes down to adaptability. Like,
and adaptability is a great way to like segue to what I just said. Like the stay-at-home mom piece. My mom was the strongest person in my house.
Yeah.
My dad provided a lot of things for that house and that our family unit, and my mom carried the house emotionally. She led with decisions around how things were going to run in the house, all of those things, right? She was a stay-at-home mom and a damn good one. She definitely ran my dad, and how you say, like, but on paper, like that, it's like this dominator culture that I think the financial, I don't know, like, what am I looking for? It's like the financial advantage or the financial expectation that one person in that partnership may have. It's just a conversation that goes to what we're saying is like, you know, whose egos hurt more, who is leading in that sense. Because I think the culture we live in, like in society we've grown up with, is people who usually have the financial providership. They usually are the ones that have that, like, I have a lot of power, and even though they don't.
And I feel like that's just because of people
think
patriarchy
money
is power. Like people think money is power, and it's just like who. Just because they bring in the money, a lot of people, if you bring in the money, like I know a lot of, I think it was, what was it called? It was an old movie, Johnson's Family Reunion.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. His wife was an accountant, right? Or she was trying to be an accountant.
Isn't that the one where they drove across in that Escalade that tricked out? And I pimp my rides kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Those spinners, I remember them red.
I wanted those so bad.
Yeah, that was fire.
But she's like, that's the first thing I think of when I think of an accountant, like a woman, because she was going to school to be an accountant. And like they got in a bind and she got to do all the guys' taxes and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, so what if he makes money and he just doesn't know how to run like anything?
Right.
So like that's what I was talking about with the adaptability. You have to be able to do a lot of different things, and a lot of people can't do that. And you have to realize that's just not my area of expertise. But without that, what am I? I might make $1 million a year, but if I just throw it away, then it's like, did you really make $1 million a year? Like what do you have to prove with, or what do you have to show with this money that you made or your money that you brought into the household? While like you don't know your kids. You can't even. She went out with the girls one night. You can't even eat dinner. Like, what are you providing other than just the monetary? So I think people it is important. Like, we need a roof over our heads. We need to live. But I think people put a lot more value into it.
I think there's a lot of value placed on money because money does run the world. That is a very a common fact. I know, like with that whole comment you made about, you know, in my life, I grew up without my dad really being home. He showed up to my sporting events and like he was gone during the week for work and stuff and working hard. But I think one of the, I don't know, wishes looking back in my life that I wish I could have more of my dad present. I think
That's
that was
fair.
a big,
Yeah.
like, you know, just desire that as a child, as a young boy, like I loved and looked up to my dad like none other, but we didn't have an emotional conversation. We didn't have the conversations about, you know, our feelings. We didn't, you know, I didn't understand what love was because even love in my house was absent.
Yeah.
Like my dad loved my mother, but there was parts where I can just see my mom just craving that attention from him physically, emotionally, spiritually. But because he was so focused on providing financially and only financially, that was the expectation that he had. So while that's all great, however you want to get it and create a family and live under one house, that is your choice. But I feel from my experience that my family dynamic or a family dynamic can be so much stronger with a present father and present mother, both emotionally with the same expectation, mentally around the house in that relationship. So I think there's a lot of that goes into this like adaptability, like segueing into this like idea of roles that the father and mother play.
Yeah, that's true. And then I watched this recently. Have you seen to get back like to relate it to all the questions? Have you seen Crazy Rich Asians?
No, but I've heard a lot about
Yeah,
it. Like
no,
I think I've heard enough about it that I can probably
See,
get where you're going.
I heard about it, but I didn't know there was this.
Okay.
There's sorry, spoilers or whatever, but like it's a side couple, right? And the girl is part of the Crazy Rich Asian family, but the guy that she married into is doing like a startup company. Like she's the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Like, and she, in my eyes, she was like she loved him.
Yeah.
She like that at the party. He wanted food. He got all her favorites because she missed the dinner.
Yeah.
She purposely hid a lot of her expensive stuff so he wouldn't feel like let down because she knew that kind of hurt him. And he cheated on her. He still cheated on her because he said that she made him feel less of a man because he was always in the back. She's hiding her stuff. Blah blah blah. But like in my head, that's madness. Because of a monetary thing, you're gonna go step out on someone who's giving you all the affection all the time, putting in what they don't have to do because they have the money.
Right.
Like that was like my example of wow, like some people just can't handle like their egos are too big to let someone
male ego, and that is like I think the greatest lesson I learned through my mental health journey or this healing journey is like the death of an ego.
Yeah.
That is my goal. Is I've always been working, and it shows up in certain conversations, instances, but I've been working so hard to minimize my ego in every situation, every room, every relationship I'm in, because the ego is the most dangerous thing I think we possess as men.
Facts.
That's what I think when we go to therapy and we work on all these things and talk about men's mental health. I think an ego will show up in so many ways, even unconsciously, in ways that you're project. It's just I think a lot of it is surrounded by ego.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel that is a big thing.
So like when you have everything that you need at home and someone who is loving you endlessly, and you still don't feel man enough. My question is always, what man are you trying to be? Who has painted this picture for you as a man that you need to be? You being you is man enough. Not you being society's definition of a man or expectations. Like just be yourself, and that is man enough.
Yeah, and whoever it is, loves you for that.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't have to...
Yeah, like I one like struggle I have is like I'm a very comfortable man in my body, my sexuality, my masculinity, all these things, and so I've talked about a lot of these things like that men are expected to do, or like what the norm is. And when I speak up against it or like say, hey, actually this is what I do and I'm still a man, it can be a lot of people can try to demasculate you. And I think that's a conversation and question I get is like that men or society is trying to demasculate men, which I don't think we are, but there's always that train of thought where it's like all these soft boy eras and like these things that's demasculating men, and men used to go to war, men used to do all these things. I don't think it's dangerous for men to be emotional, to do so much more for themselves and just be themselves. I think it's the healthiest thing because your ego is going to not allow you to get to those points.
That's fair. And I think, there's a lot of switch up since it's different since like the 90s, since the 80s, since our parents were kids, since we were kids. It's just like back in the day, it was looked down upon for the woman to be provider. Now it's like okay, cool. Like
Okay,
my
cool.
wife makes bread. Like
Yeah.
it's different, and that's just society. Like obviously
Yeah.
back then women weren't offered the same opportunities as us. They weren't given the chance
And
to.
still today, there's
Exactly.
still some
There's still
challenges, just as
yeah.
it's a challenge for you as a black doctor
Yeah,
that you may have to
exactly.
go through, or me as a biracial man like that I may have to go through, because it's all pointing to this system we're up against is
Yeah,
the
exactly.
white culture, white patriarchy that
Yeah.
is. So
There's a lot of
couldn't agree
barriers
more.
that need to be
Yeah,
like broken down that
Yeah.
are getting broken down. But
absolutely.
like I think it's all just honestly. I think a couple of people like were in the comments of my like recent videos. Like it is what you want. Like
Yeah.
it really we can all live
However
in
you want.
however you want to
Yeah.
do, and just find someone who matches what you want to do.
Yep.
And
Personal preference is okay.
personal preference is very okay, and you can just let people live in their peace.
Yeah.
You don't have to cause problems.
Yeah.
But I guess to segue into that, the man question. Do you think men have to be the provider? What would you say on the provider? Like what is a provider to you type thing?
I think a provider is whatever works for the relationship, regardless of who it is. I think a provider is someone who provides what someone else needs. I think that's the definition of it. Is like a provider is you're providing something that someone else needs, and whatever that person needs is what you figure out. If they don't need to be emotionally supported or financially supported or physically, like, then those aren't needs that they have. So I can provide different things. So I think like, this conversation is, it's a nuanced one, but I think a provider is you providing something that someone needs. That is a pure definition.
Facts. And I think even to elevate that, it's whatever someone needs at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like we've been talking about with the adaptability.
Yeah.
You might have the strongest partner in the world.
Yep.
You might have someone who makes bread, who walks around with all the confidence in the world. They're like, wow, you bagged a secure one. And you come home to them crying one day, like you're gonna need to provide them emotional support.
Yeah,
like, whatever they provide for you.
Absolutely.
That's great. They might provide financial stability. They might provide confidence. They might provide they might have bought your freaking side gig, your store or whatever they got. But they
invested
come home,
in you, yeah.
they invested in you. But like you come home and they're struggling one day, like, and you see them in a state they've never had. That's that. You got to adapt, and you have to become the provider. I think.
Yeah, I would love that. I think a lot of men, and what I hear like on the internet with men is, they struggle emotionally, and again, I hear also as a response to that is, well, that's because of the system they built, and I completely understand that, because this is what we're talking about, men's mental health. There is a gap in where men struggle, and like understanding, being aware enough that like we are also part of the problem, because we don't talk about our feelings enough. We don't express these things. We don't, create a comfortable society where like men can cry, or men can, have emotion and express it and not be looked at as less than a man, right? That's always see people. It's like when I see anyone walking on the street, and I think ego or like that man masculinity conversation. You see people who are constantly kind of sizing themselves up, like bird chesting around other men, looking it up and down, and like, I'm more of a man than you, or whatever those conversations that go internally on. Like, you don't need it. Nothing you do as a man is going to make me feel less than.
So how does that shift happen? How do you let men be more comfortable in their own skin, because they might be the ones who cause them being uncomfortable in their own skin?
Yeah. Man, I think awareness and self-recognition is probably a huge one that we feel, but we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to accept, because accepting that we're wrong is a really hard human trait. For me, that's like one of my hardest challenges, like saying that I'm wrong.
Yeah, type.
But I think, there's a lot of pent-up aggression. I would say just normalizing these conversations that we're having.
Yeah.
Normalize conversations with your guy friends. Normalize conversations with your friends that are women. Normalize conversations with your parents, your kids, everyone around you. Just being honest.
That's fair.
You don't have to like put on this shield that you're this macho, unbothered person. If something bothers you, that is enough. Like, you can digest it and feel something. If you want to express it, you can.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
I think that's where I would start if we're talking to men, is like, the system we have in place doesn't want men to be emotional or to express themselves, because that's, going against the grain. But that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I think that is. And I think one of the big things that you have to look out for, both as a man and a woman, is that because it's becoming more normalized, is weaponizing it.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people that like because it used to be girls that do this. Girls have told me that I cry when I get a ticket on purpose. I cry when my boyfriend's yelling too loud just so he stops bothering me. And now I've heard guys are being like, they cheat, they do whatever, and then they come bawling to the girl. I'm like, okay, cool. You're expressing your emotions, but like, you should be able to like handle that because you did this to yourself. Like, you can't just go. And a lot of girls, they're like, oh, I've never seen him cry before.
It's manipulation.
It's manipulation. So don't use that manipulation because then we're just gonna go back to a whole nother thing where you crying is a whole nother bad thing, where you expressing your emotions is a whole nother bad thing. It needs to be genuine expression of emotion, and that's something that's hard for my mindset to even process, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, there's a difference between being raised in America and being raised by immigrant parents or people that are out of the country.
Oh yeah.
Especially with mental health. I'm Nigerian. Mental health does not exist. Like,
I got a lot of Nigerian friends.
Do not. What do you go pray? Go handle whatever you need to handle. Go lock in. Like, there's no room for that wiggle room, because what is crying going to do for you? What is expressing your emotions going to do for you? What is paying to talk to another person going to do for you? And that's something that, like, because I was raised that way, there's always a little part of me that's like, I got it. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, what am I crying for? Go lock in for real. Like, so, not saying I'm Nigerian, but like, I was born in Brooklyn. Like, I was born in raised in Phoenix.
Yeah, first gen.
First gen. Like, it's different, and it's kind of like a transition period where I have to balance. Like, we have to be the change of that kind of thing. So I have to balance that solid rock mentality that my parents grew me up with, also with being able to express and understand different things.
And learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And learn. I think that's also a part where, that whole manipulation comment we made about, crying at your girlfriend's feet because this and that. But I think, like, learning is the most important part of, like, expressing emotion. Because if you're somebody, man or woman, that is consistently expressing this emotion, or like being what some people call emotional, like that negative connotation that comes with it, I feel like if you're not learning, then that's a you thing.
Exactly.
I think that as you express this emotion to people around you, and they may help you, you may want to, get their response in a way. But I think as long as you're learning, you should be emotional.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't want you to come to me and repeat the exact same thing. You do 10 things in a row.
Facts.
It's like, it's just, like over and over and over again. It's like, how long until someone learns? Because that shows so much more than expression of like your emotion. So yeah,
it does.
That's how I look at it. It's like,
that's a good point. I think learning is a big thing, because if someone's complaining to me, they got like 3 strikes. Like, if you bring the same problem 3 times, unless it's understandable, like something out of your control.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you could have changed and learned from and whatever, it's just like, we're just going in circles. What's the point of this? Like, I'm gonna tell you the same thing. You're gonna go make the same mistake, and then we're gonna be back here again. Like, you have to eventually take. I think that's the point. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get your emotions out. It's okay to express yourself to people you trust, but at some point you do have to pick yourself up.
Yeah.
And brush that off and kind of.
I think that's what most dads want to see, or like, I say dads as in a sense, like I remember, like, as a boy expressing some things in bad, being like, you need to be, toughen up, rub some dirt in it, kind of thing, right? And I think that's what they just want to see, is you learn or kind of grow through it. But that initial expression is okay, and I think that's part of the axe being like chopped down is you can't even express the emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it in private, learn on your own. It's like, that's not how you cultivate growth as a child, as a kid. That's not how I want to for my future kids, or how I look back. I was like, I wish my dad would have been like, well, what's going on, man? Like, talk to me.
No, that's fair.
And like sat down and like allowed me to express myself, and then said, okay, what can we learn from that?
Exactly. And I think there is kind of a threshold thing, though. My pops had 3 rules, right? A man's got to love God, a man's got to treat a lady real good, and a man's got to take a little pain. That take a little pain always stuck with me. So when I was growing up, I always thought it had to be like like, I can't show emotion. I have to be able to take. But I didn't think about the little part. Like, all these little things, the little problems. Okay, like, take that to the chin. Like, you gotta figure out how you can push through life.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world out there. But there is a threshold to the pain. Like, you don't have to take a lot of pain.
Right.
you can take a little bit of pain. You can take that pain. And then I think I realized that because he was trying to change that narrative for our family. So he's an emotional man. He's a very emotional man.
I mean, honestly, lucky you. I mean, there's a lot of emotional men out there.
Exactly.
And present fathers, but like, it's I would probably guess that it's not a majority.
It's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
And I think it was because we are Nigerian and we came from that culture, and he was trying to change the narrative for us, like before we even got to do it. I think we're two different people, but I always respected him for being able to express that to his kids,
Yeah.
being able to be open with his kids, and that's something that I was very grateful I had that example of. But like, I just kind of, when I was little, was just so hard headed. I was like, why am I taking, like, I don't have to cry. Like, I can take all this pain. I can take everything on. And that's just something that,
Bottle it up.
exactly, bottling up, I think, is probably because bottles pop, bro.
Yeah.
Bottles pop. All the fizz, all the carbonation, like it's finna
Like
go
that
up eventually.
expression too is like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Like have you heard that one before?
Uh-uh.
It's like the final thing that actually broke the camel's back,
Oh.
not the hundreds of pounds of people,
Just the-
cargo, all this stuff on it. It's just like that one
That
last
little
thing.
that,
It could be the smallest thing in the world, but that bottle
set you
analogy, if
off.
that bottle is about to pop,
yeah.
that last drop that does it, that might not even be a big deal. But everything else is going to come forward.
Exactly.
Everything's going to explode out. And so I think that's also like regulation of emotion to what you're saying is like my therapist has helped me really understand the importance of like digesting information, feeling it, trying to express it with myself and just understand my feeling around it, understand the severity of it, and then decide how to communicate if I need to, right? And I think it's subjective, but that's something I work on a lot with people around me, my family, friends, everything in life that I do is like, I didn't like that person didn't show up to my birthday. I didn't like that person didn't like, it's a small little thing, but it's like, is it really that big of a deal for me to text and be like, why didn't you show up? Or like to like not still give them the same level I always given them? Probably not. Like it's worth a conversation, but I don't need to then act. I can be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal.
That's fair.
So like, I can still talk to this person. Like people go through shit.
Yeah. I think check up on your people, bro.
Yeah.
Check up on your people. You never really know what's going on.
Right.
Some people hide it a lot better than others. Some people hide a lot better than
That's
others.
perfect. Like for this, like men hide or train to hide their emotion, and it, as we've talked about, it comes back in very unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the largest group of people that commit suicide is men. Again, this is a system that we have set up, but the fact is, men commit suicide at the highest rate, and it's very unfortunate because I always think to myself, like, regardless of how we got here, that person just probably needed a hug.
That person definitely.
That person probably just needed someone to see them.
They would have broke down too.
That person probably just needed the comfort and space to feel like he could express himself.
Yeah, that's fair.
And share, because I think that would have made the world of a difference for a lot of people. And that's how I've been through my own mental health battles and stuff. And like the lack of expression, that bottling up, nearly killed me.
Yeah,
I mean, nearly killed me.
it's a lot.
It's a lot,
and it's something that doesn't have to happen necessarily.
Yeah.
So I mean, and also I think one of the biggest things is just like you don't know what other people are going through.
Yeah.
Like you don't know especially with social media, you don't know what's behind the camera. You don't know what like if you walk by someone at work, you don't like that person. You don't know why they act the way they do to you. Like if you can brush something off. If you can spread a kind word, spread a kind word.
Ooh.
And it's just you don't know what little actions can really make an impact because you're dealing with something. Like I've dealt with so many people, and it's just like, nah, this person was mean to me today. I had such a bad day. I was like, they're like grandfathers in the hospital right now, like someone who raised them. I'm like, bro, like you don't know what the backstory could be. So
I don't know if this is a coined expression, but I thought of this a while ago, and it's like a life expression of mine, or like a life, I don't know, like motto is you never know the light you could be in someone's darkness.
Yeah, facts.
Because it doesn't matter. Like again, they might need your light more than ever. And if it's passing somebody on the street and you give them a hi, just see them, that's a light.
Yeah.
Because some people are just craving to be seen in this world.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, no matter who I run into in this world, who I talk to, I'm going to try to be a light. Because I think that's one of the most important things we can do for humankind and people around us, and especially our friends and brothers. And on the topic of men's mental health, is just be a light for people in your circle. Be a light for people in their life.
Yeah. Radiate that light, y'all. That's a good end point right now. We got stuff to do. I'm not gonna lie. But thanks for tapping in. Check on your friends. Be that light for them. And
mental health is health.
Mental health is health.
Always will be.
Yeah, because people be going crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
hard.
tell you, let's sign off. Therapy isn't free.
It's not free.
But it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
If I could sign off with anything, anyone who is out there struggling, who is looking for a healthy outlet, a healthy, activity or thing to do to heal, therapy is a great resource. I've been doing it. It's changed my life completely. And I give the analogy of, like when people say you need to pour into your cup, like pour into your cup to make it full, like your cup needs to be full. If your cup is broken, you can never pour enough. And so when you think of therapy, I think of therapy is going to help build that cup and secure that cup. So when you do pour into it with love from friends, self-care, kind words to yourself, it sticks, it stays. Versus a broken cup, like it's always have leaks and it's just not going to go anywhere. Love is going to come across your face, and that broken cup's not going to be able to help it.
Damn.
All of that. That's why. So shout out to therapy. If you're interested, go to therapy. I think it's worth it, but teach their own.
Yeah. Lock in, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but we appreciate y'all. More stuff coming soon. Keep sending your questions. I think that's all we have to share with you, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks, and make sure y'all don't trip.
We got you.
Yeah.